It is what it is. And boom, we are live. Lions TV, welcome back to the first Den Debate, Den Debacle. What's a debacle? Anyway, someone let me know in the comments. Welcome back.
Season.
First one. Go on, you're a teacher. Was it Hen?
Last season. That's a debacle. It's Coventry away at St Andrews. That was a debacle. If anyone needs...
That don't really sum it up because there's many words you could use to sum that up. Right, good evening. By the ever-present Kenny Draper. Evening, Ken.
Good morning. Good evening. Sorry.
Different time zone. And Henry from the No One Likes Us Talking podcast has snuck in the gang. He's been promoted.
There we go.
Thanks for joining us.
Very good. Lovely to be on. Cheers, Dan.
No worries, mate. You've been on the channel a few times before. Interviews and bits.
Yeah, generally after we've lost, with the exception, I think, of that one game up at Forest before we went into lockdown, right? That was about the only time I've been on and we've won.
The world couldn't take a 3-0 away win for Millwall.
Just shut the world down. That's it. Friday night in Nottingham, everyone taking the mick. Brilliant.
Right, so we're going to try and keep this as a weekly podcast, probably every Thursday. Even if there is midweek games, Thursday should work. So if you two want to keep your place in the starting 11, have a good one tonight, boys. Lots to discuss. We're going to start by talking about football is back for the fans. Football is nothing without fans. The excitement building up to it for us. Disappointment last season, the confusion, how different it was. Ken, I was saying Hen or Ken, whoever, kick us off. How good does it feel, boys, to be getting back down there very shortly?
It's still very surreal at the moment, isn't it? Even if when you go to, I don't have a season ticket. I'll do it the membership way. So even when I go to buy me ticket, I don't know whether I'm going to be excited until I'm in the car, driving up to the grounds, or even just getting there, because it's been 2 years now, and you've gone through a cycle. You've gone through a cycle of, it won't last that long. We'll be back soon. To we might not be back soon. To all of a sudden, we're definitely not going. I'd quite safely say that I went through a state of depression at one point, on the basis of not watching football. And now you've just got used to not watching the football. You've had the Euros, and now they're telling you that you might be able to go back, in a couple of weeks. And my head's all over the place. So, obviously, I'm excited to go, but it still doesn't seem that real until we're there.
Head, it's a little bit like we've been on for a long time, and then you ain't seen your mates all summer. You're half nervous on the first day back. You don't know what to talk about.
I just, I think it's mega, but yeah, Ken's right. It doesn't seem real until we're going to be actually back in the ground. No one seems to know what's going on with Gillingham or Ipswich friendlies either. It's about 3 days away, and there are no tickets anywhere, so I don't know what that's about, or QPR for that matter. But yeah, it's going to be unbelievable, isn't it, to finally get back and for there to be people there and for you to go and see all your mates. But yeah, it doesn't seem real. I keep expecting someone to be like, no, cases have gone too high again. We're going to have to all not go, doing the things that we want to at the moment, to be honest. I don't know. Yeah, it's going to be mega, but it won't seem real until I'm sitting back in my seat again, looking at,
Very true, mate. I still haven't got my season. I still ain't got it. And this is the thing that cracked me up. The club did a good thing where everyone was going, I only paid £3 for my season ticket, but no, you didn't, because you bought the season before and you couldn't go. £3, they just carried it over.
Kenny makes a great point about feeling depressed. I felt depressed watching that bloody stream every week. It's like game after game of no one in the ground. It just feeling like every game feeling a bit like a pre-season friendly. Like a team would score and you'd be like, is that a real goal? Does that count? I don't, and I know we're going to get onto it, but there's some shocking performances in amongst some of those.
Do you know what? The problem is we could have probably won 5-0 every week. It still wouldn't fulfill it because I don't know about you, but going to Millwall for me is waking up in the morning. Well, for me now, it's waking up in the morning with the kids, having a big breakfast, making our way down there, going to the pub, seeing all the people that I'll be honest with you, the people that I see down the pub, I haven't seen for 2 years. People you walk up the stairs, you're shaking everybody's hands, you sit with the particular type of people that I haven't seen for 2 years. Like, all of that makes your day. So you're not going to be fulfilled until you can do that all again.
What you said, the spot on. Couple of first games, we'd score, and I'll be like, "Does that count? Is that a goal?" Because where there's no crowd reaction, it just didn't. You waiting to see like the rest. No, it wasn't. It was weird, wasn't it? Very weird.
It was dreadful, is what it was, Dan. Because you want, like, I want us to win every game, but then I'm like, I don't want us to go up this season because we're not there. Like, you've got that double-edged sword the whole time. I was like, well, actually, let's not have a too good season. So I think where we finished probably about suited me, to be honest. I didn't want to be watching us in the playoffs on only 3,500 people in the ground or whatever. So yeah, good luck to Brentford.
You've led us onto it very nicely, actually. Good plug. Because my next question to you two was going to be, did we do well without the crowds there? How well or how much worse do you think we would have done with the crowds there? Ken, start with you.
Yeah, I think we had a horrendous season. I know a lot of people seem to think, well, we're a mid-table club. And the problem is most of our fan base has a mid-table mindset. I honestly believe that with the players that we had this season, we should have been pushing for playoffs. I honestly believe that. Would we have played better if there was fans there? Most definitely. And the reason why is because I know that if you've got a den with, say, 14,000 people in there, there's going to be 10,000 that are going to be getting on Rowett's back for some of them poor performances. And in the end, he would have to change it up. And I honestly believe if he changed it up, we would have played differently. As you know, I feel like most of our players were out of position, etc. So, the answer to your question is, things definitely would have been different if the fans were in, I think.
Well, Hen, I just had a flashback there to a time when me and Kenny have always been very pro Rowett out. You messaged me, I think, the day after the day of the Middlesbrough game, and the exact message wasn't hello, wasn't anything. You put Rowett out, ? Dan, have a fucking word with yourself. That's what she said. That's what he said. Brad, do you agree with Kenny and me? Do you think Rowett would have had more pressure from the fans to be a little bit more adventurous had we all been there? And do you think he would have survived 14 games without a win with a den crowd there?
No chance. And I've got to be honest as well. Towards the end of the season, I started to lose faith because, like, we finished the season on such a damp squib. Like, it was awful. I'm not even going to talk about the away game at bloody Coventry, which is actually St Andrews, Birmingham. But anyway, like that home game against Bournemouth, everyone was going, oh, it's the best Bournemouth ever played. And I interviewed the bloke from Bournemouth and he said, oh, yeah, well, we played really well. Can't believe it. Evans in that game was shocking. Like, we looked like we had the beach towels out. After Bart goes and says, well, by the way, such and such, like they had the beach towels out. Yeah, well, we had them out the week after. I mean, and there was that Jekyll and Hyde performance all season. We'd go and smash Sheffield Wednesday 4-1 and then lose at home to Bristol City 3-0 in an FA Cup game. It was just, there was like no continuity, and just at the points where I thought Rowett was going to get really under pressure, he'd go and win somewhere like Bristol City, or he'd get a draw somewhere like Norwich, or he would go and just steady the ship a little bit. But there's no way with that home form. I think we had the away form of being something like in the top 7 or 8. We had the home form of being in like the bottom 4, bottom 5. Home form. And that's the thing that usually keeps us up. When we have a poor home season, that's when we get relegated.
Yeah.
And last year it was our away form that kept us up. So I don't think there's any way that Gary Rowett would have survived with some of those performances at home last season. And I am properly on the fence now as to whether he is the person to drive us forward. I really hope he is this season. I think we've got to give him a whole normal season, because last season was very, very far from being normal, wasn't it, in every respect? So I don't know, Dan. Yeah, and I was, of course I'm going to dig you out because you're always moaning on about our managers. So I support and support some of them at some stage.
Well, that's true, mate. It's very true. But I will say this: you mentioned Evans there, mentioned Keithenbeld. I said he needed to do things to keep his job. I'm not saying he did it because I said it. I think a lot of us could see what he needed to do. He brought back Danny Mack. He didn't have a lot of luck with strikers either. But like you said, you're on the fence, and I was very Rowett out. From what I've seen in the summer so far, I'm very pleased. As a whole, transfer dealing is done nice and early, Ken. We'll get onto them individually in a minute. But was you pleased with us doing our business early, coming in wise players?
Yeah, well, it's definitely different to what we normally do. We're usually holding on, looking for the dregs, aren't we? And seeing what we can get come the end of the transfer window. So this is the thing about Rowett, is he obviously means business. I think he does have Millwall's best interests at heart at the moment. And I agree with Emery. I do think that we have to give him a full season. where, you know, all of these signings, you know, they're all his decisions. You know, he's got a whole pre-season now. I think, is that the first pre-season he's actually had? A proper pre-season?
Yeah, because the one we had during COVID wasn't hardly pre-season, was it?
Yeah, so this is now his proper season, so to speak. And let's just say the last couple of seasons is his warm-up. If he doesn't do well this season, then, you know, we've got a very, very good argument. But we have to give him the opportunity. Well, we've got no choice.
I'm going to say a few hellos. Teddy Davis, John D. Govoir. I've seen a few regulars in there. And also, if you're not a regular, good evening, everyone. Aaron Julie Bone, there you go. Brian Rose. Simon Patterson was top of the shop, I believe. There he is. Steve Lees, the legend, says there's no way Rowett would have survived without a crowd there. Agreeing with us. H, looking at Rowett's inbounds, doing it early before the Scotland tour. I love that, to be honest. I like Kenny just said, and we all know, we leave it fucking arse knockings, pick up everyone else's shit. I think he had a very clear, well, I know he had a very clear one with Afobe, because fuck me, how long ago did I tell you he was coming, Ken? That was before the season even finished last season.
Yeah, definitely.
So I think he had a very clear plan in his mind, the players he wanted in. Do you think we recruited well, and are you pleased we got it done early?
I mean, yes and no. I think I always go back to our budget, and that taints everything that we can and possibly will do in any transfer window. Ballard looks like probably quite a good person to bring in. Done all right at Blackpool. You know, he played in all those big games for them at the end of the season. Played at international level for Northern Ireland. I mean, you know, I mean, he was obviously blinding at Swindon. But, you know, like, no, in all seriousness, though, he's the kind of player that looks like he did very well in League One. My one question mark is, can he step up to the Championship, which is, you know, going to be more competitive, I think, this season. I think the Championship last year was shocking. Like, I thought the standard of football was shocking. There were no crowds. You couldn't predict, like, you can't predict the Championship at the better times, but last season went to a whole different level of just complete fuckwittery. Yeah, I think he's done okay. Like, you know, I mean, Afobe, I hope he proves me wrong, but, you know, there's not many clubs in the whole of Europe he hasn't been to. And I think the most he scored in one season is 15 goals, which is worse than Lee Gregory. All right, Leggers never did it at this level. But again, I don't know who else we could have signed, if I'm being honest with you, with the budget we've got. So I've got to say, all right, at least he's gone out and tried to do something. It's given us a bit more depth at the back, which we clearly needed, because as soon as Hutch got injured, blimey, did we fall to pieces towards the end of the season. And, you know, he's brought Saville in, which is an absolute, I think, a masterstroke, because we were never going to sign Ryan Woods. I know that you hate him, Dan. I thought he had a lot more to give the club than he could have done if he'd been a bit more protected and played in a position where he could have had more influences on the game. But you know, that never happened. So people just hate him. Fair enough. You know, I don't know really. Only time will tell. The one thing I would say is he did well to like tie up those people that were already at the club, like Bennett, Malone, you know, get them all settled early doors and then do these other little bits of business. But the thing that worries me is, say if Afobe comes in, he hasn't got a great injury record. He gets injured, we're back to what we were last season. And everyone was like, well, we're crying out for strikers. Are we going to go with some of the young lads? Well, maybe we will. Maybe we'll call them back on loan if that does happen this year. But lordy, we're going to be in trouble, aren't we? If indeed we do have those injuries again this year. So, yeah, I think he's done the best that he could do, to be honest.
Yeah, okay. We'll break it down player by player. What you just said, again, at the end is right. I think we've got to realise as well where he is. I mean, I'm sure he'd love to say to the chairman, right, give us £10 million, I'm going to get A, B and C. Of course. He has to work within a budget. Let's start out, Ken, with Ballard. He's clearly done well. I watched him in the first team the other day. He looks really good. Not just because he scored the goal, he looks really good, but he's comfortable on the ball. And I think you're going to see him, in my opinion, you're going to see him play right side of a back three. Because as much as I love Hutch can't really play, can he, as he tries to travel up the pitch. And that I would say on the ball is Hutchinson's only weak point. But Ballard's very assured on the ball, very confident, very calm. Scored the goal the other day. But Ken, I say you haven't seen Ballard, but you will be able to get involved in this debate, because I know me and you stand on the same fence a lot with this as well.
I already know what you're going to say.
Go on, what am I going to say?
I was wondering whether you was going to say either one, is he going to knock one of them two off out of the position, or should we have just kept Aidan Muller?
That's exactly what I'm going to say. and also the emergence of Alex Mitchell, have we chewed up wages there? Again, could it be, a Troy Parrott situation? Should we have not just gone with what we already had from our own youth?
I think that obviously taking someone like Daniel Ballard is a risk first and foremost. No, it's not a massive risk, but he looks sort of half decent from what I've seen. Yeah. But the argument again is always we've got some players exactly like Daniel Ballard in our ranks. So, okay, we've brought him in. In my opinion, he shouldn't. In my opinion, no loan players really should be in our first team just like that. First and foremost, we've got the youth players that can be a backup for Coops and Hutch. You know me, I want a 4-4-2 system. So for me, it's Coop and Hutch, and Ballard can be on the bench. But for me personally, I'd have Hayden Muller on the bench, and Ballard is non-existent unless we signed him.
I feel it's harsh we sound that on Ballard, but
yeah,
it's nothing against Ballard.
No.
Talent there, of course. Hayden Muller has now gone out on loan to St Johnstone under Callum Davis, and that would be brilliant for Hayden. He really played holding midfield the other night as well. But yeah, H, do you agree with me and Kenny? Especially now the emergence of Alex Mitchell. Alex, I like them both. I've watched a lot of them. Alex is very commanding, very strong in the air, both ends of the pitch, a leader, just really, really wants it. Hayden is very good as well, but in a different way, more of can play out the back very comfortably, as Ballard can. I feel Alex could benefit from a loan within the league this year. Of course, he spent the back end of last season alone at Bromley. But Muller, he's gone to St Johnstone now, so let's hope Ballard does the business. But again, could that have been, will he be on loads of wages being an Arsenal player, though? A young Arsenal player? With all of us not really always developing our own youth. We saw it with Troy Parrott and maybe George Alexander who left the club. We also saw it with Billy Mitchell and Jason Malumbi. And now Billy Mitchell's kicked on more than, I don't even know where Malumbi is now.
I think he's lost on the M6 somewhere, isn't he, between Preston and Birmingham? I don't know. But yes, to a point, I do. And that's exactly why he's not in my team. I know we're going to come on to our teams in a minute. But the other player we haven't mentioned is actually when Marlon Romeo went to that right side, when we're playing three at the back, he had more of that passing and mobility. And him and Danny Mack played very well together, I thought, on that side. So,
Murray Wallace, Sean Hutchinson, Alex Pearce, Jake Cooper, other players that can also play in the position, Evans, Leonard, and Marlon Romeo.
Yeah. So
what you're saying is, and I agree, even without Ballard, even without Hayden Muller, did we really need Daniel Ballard?
Rowett obviously sees that he's got more talent and potential than some of those players. He must. That's what he must see, right? There's no two ways about that. I haven't watched him play, so I can't really say. I can only go on the numbers that he's got and the fact he's been called up for Northern Ireland, who have been competitive. It's not like it's a Northern Ireland side that just get battered every time they go out there.
Yeah.
They are almost on the verge of qualification for the Euros now for the last three tournaments. So he's getting into a decent side there. And obviously maybe, him and Sav might know each other from that. I don't know. But I don't know. Again, I'd prefer us to go with our younger players. But the Championship's a big step up. And you can ruin someone's confidence very, very quickly, especially in defence where there's no hiding. You make one mistake, you're a goal down. Unless Bart pulls off a worldie, which he's getting on a bit now, isn't he? So he's probably not going to be putting those out quite as much as he did last season.
I think one of the problems is when you look at Arsenal's squad.
Yeah.
So whoever's Arsenal's manager is, I don't even know. Would rather keep Rob Holding instead of Dan Ballard. And that's to sort of tell you what type of level he is, because Holding's an awful defender. But he stands further up, than Ballard. I know it's just little things like that that make you think. But listen, there's no problem with having depth in our squad.
No.
The
problem I've got with it isn't Ballard. You're right, Ken. There's no problem with having depth. The one thing I've got is we haven't got any fucking wages or any budget. So I'm thinking, could that have gone elsewhere potentially on a position?
100% it could be, yeah. And we've got depth already in just maybe not as much experience, but. I don't know. It's like any job, really, isn't it? You only get experience through doing it. Stick Aidan Muller on when we're 2-0 up, or Mitchell when we're 2-0 up. These boys have got to start playing at some point.
Exactly.
Or is it going to be too late and they're going to get the experience in the Championship when we get promoted to the Premier League. You know, it's just, do you know what I mean? It's just one of them.
Yeah.
Just do it now. And us as Millwall fans don't have a problem. But I wouldn't have a problem with Aidan Muller making a cock-up. But I would have a problem with Daniel Ballard making a cock-up.
Spot on.
You know?
I'm counting here 9 available centre-halves about Ballard. Alex Mitchell, Hayden Muller, Murray Wallace, Sean Hutchinson, Alex Pearce, Jake Cooper, Marlon Romeo, George Evans, Ryan Leonard. And just remember, by the way, how well Leonard played there when he covered in that. I think Rowett's got half an eye. I think we'll see Leonard play there in that position. So, right, final word on Ballard. I'm going to say this, a very, very quick summary. Like him as a player, don't have a problem with him. Looks very good, but did we really need him? Probably not.
Yeah.
Sold. Agreed. Right. Let's move on to the second signing. I think he was second. Who came in second? Was it Saville or Benik? It was about an hour apart. Was it Saville?
No, I think it was Afobe first, wasn't it? Right, that's my recollection of it.
Let's go with the man with the longest Wikipedia page in history, Benik Afobe. It's another one. That's what I really want him to do well. I really want him to do well.
Yeah.
I watched him the other day. I'm not going to judge him on one game, but he was horrendous.
Great.
He isn't a target man. He isn't a little short striker. He kept getting knocked off the ball. He just ran around in circles, basically. He wasn't making... At one point, someone knocks a long diag, and as Smith was jumping, Afobe went, I'm with you. But as Smith met the ball, Afobe was already standing next to the goalkeeper, and I said to my mate, well, if you made the complete wrong run at the complete wrong time, I don't know what type of striker he is. I don't know if he's going to offer us goals. And can I just say as well, do you remember when they said, Rowett said, we could be dipping into the foreign market?
Oh, please don't tell me that was him.
We was cracking up on the group about that, Ken, weren't we?
Yeah, definitely.
I said he's coming like months before. And I think that's what it was. But Benik Afobe, let's have a look. God, fucking hell, I'm going to have to get low for this one. Of course, he started at Arsenal, youth team, didn't really play. Huddersfield, Reading, Bolton, Millwall on loan, Sheffield Wednesday, Milton Keynes. See, this is the Benik I remember because I was excited when I first heard it. 215, 216. 46 games to Wolves, 22 goals. Bournemouth, not too bad. And then it's just down from there. Didn't really score for Stoke. Didn't do great. Trabzonspor. I've heard he's had a double ACL injury along the way as well, and that's probably what's slowing him down a bit.
Yep.
Another Stoke player. He's out getting players in and taking a cut of the wages from Stoke. Like, get us in. Like, Benik Afobe, boys. Talk to me.
Yeah, I'm a... Look, again, like you said, I'd like to see him do well. But this is the worst thing about our squad is that Matt Smith still is our best striker in that club. And that's not necessarily a good thing, really. Benik Afobe doesn't really offer, as it hasn't offered much probably for the last 6 years at any football club that he's played at. The records speak for themselves. However, again, how many times does a player come to a club and all of a sudden, you know, he just hits the ground running? Do I think that he's going to do that? No. But it is what it is. Again, it's a bit like Rowett. We've got to give him the chance, haven't we? We've got no choice.
Well, you just said, right? We all need to realise if we think he's going to do well or isn't going to do well, he isn't going to score 20 goals a season. Right? No. And that's not his fault, and that's not Rowett's fault. We haven't got the money for a 20-goal a season striker. Right. So, we got to understand where we are as a club, what players are available to us within our budget. So, again, I don't think he's done bad, but he's not bowling me over, and he's actually got a varsity shirt number, hasn't he? He's the new number 23. This is like, I don't know how good he's going to do. Hodge, what do you think, mate?
I mean, he's on the wrong side of 27 as well, isn't he? I just, he's, again, I really hope that he can do well. I don't see it. I see the same problems we had last year in terms of us scoring goals. Most of them coming from Jed and Bennett this year, in my opinion. Like, I know Matt Smith's had a good pre-season, and I hope that we get balls into the box that he can attack. He's not a target man. That's not the way to play Matt Smith. You ask, you speak to any QPR fan, they'll tell you that if you use him as a target man, he's useless. If you use him as a target man in the box, i.e. getting balls into the middle, you see, you can see what he did against Nottingham Forest. We were talking about that just before we started. So, Afobe, I mean, yeah, I hope he proves me wrong, but I just don't see it. And I think that Rowett's probably just tried to make the best of what's going to be a difficult situation for us to get a decent striker in. Anyway, maybe it's to try and give people like Bradshaw a bit of a boost, try and give him a kick up the backside and get him to doing something. I mean, I still personally don't think we've ever played to Bradshaw's strengths. He's not somebody who's a target man in the middle of the box. He needs balls fed through. We've never done that. We've never tried to attack him with a higher line. We've never given him a run in the team. So, if I'm Tom Bradshaw, I'd be a bit frustrated about that. Maybe this will give him a kick up the backside, although we haven't really seen anything from Bradshaw either to let us believe that he's going to do something major at the level that we're trying to push at now. Maybe if we're towards the bottom of the Championship and we're just looking for survival, yeah, okay, he might do a job there and get us 5 or 6 goals or whatever we need to try and stay up. But realistically, we're talking about the fact we've now consolidated our position in the Championship and we really want to be pushing for the playoffs or better. Now, is Afobe the type of player and signing you need to make, regardless of money, if you want to push for the playoffs? And the jury is out. We'll know by Christmas. And I hope by Christmas I'm eating my words and he scored 12, 13 goals.
Me too. I'll happily say.
But I just don't see it. I mean,
about his shit. I'll wear that.
Injuries.
Can I just say, sorry, Ken, before you go, I've said he was useless, and you just said about Bradshaw. Him and Smith had absolutely 0 opportunities to shoot a goal, by the way. So you can't blame them for that the other day. They didn't have one chance to shoot either of them in the whole game. But I'm just talking about every other part of his play. As it stands, strikers at the club, I've got them written down here. Bradshaw, Bavarson, who's been told he can leave. Afobe, I know Ken hates this, but Jed and Bennett are both class as strikers now for us, if need be. Smith and Isaac Alafe. If we can get him fit and involved in pre-season, that'd be good. Currently out with a slight groin injury, I believe, or is it hamstring? I'm not sure, but he's only about 2 weeks away.
And I've got to say this because I was reading the comments while you lot were going through, and people are going, it's the same old excuse all the time. We don't have the money. We're a club with no budget, etc., etc. Right, fine. But do you know what I'd rather do? Right, what happened last time? Millwall had absolutely nothing, and we stuck all our youth on a pitch for a season.
We won the league.
Exactly. We gave all these people a chance that maybe might not have been ready. Right. I'd much rather see Alafe up front. Give him a season up front.
I agree.
We don't know anything about him. All we know is that he's young and hungry. Right, that's all we know.
Kenny, the only thing I would say, mate, I agree with you, but the only thing I'd say is when we did that, we was in League One. I think it's easier to bring players in League One and school them up more than it is in the Championship. That's the only point I'd make there. But I know what you're saying.
I think it's about the choice of players. So the only reason why we're saying that is because we've gone and got Afobe. If Afobe doesn't hit the ground running, then we are in trouble. Essentially, our only other option is Matt Smith. Bradshaw. I'm not a big fan of Bradshaw. I don't think Bradshaw's cut out to be a Millwall player or even to be in the Championship. Dad bod's not worth anything. Bennett, in my opinion, could maybe potentially do the business. And you know my views on Jed Wallace as a striker. So, yeah.
So but what I think we can all agree, when you said what you said, Ken, I did agree, but I did think exactly what Henry said about it was in League One. However, there was rumours of us potentially being interested in signing Liam Delap. Now, if you're going to bring in Liam Delap, you might as well play Alafe. Because Liam Delap, again, is highly rated Manchester City. It just stinks of Troy Parrott to me. It's very different playing youth football than it is to playing men's football. And Alafe scored 15 goals last season, getting them promoted. So I'm just looking at the comments, and there's a guy called Baz who's just
you don't know what he's talking about.
And then someone just told him he's talking nonsense. But sorry, by the way, just to let people know, I will go to the comments and reflect, and we'll have some of your questions as we go through. That's actually Danny, as we know. Missed the perfect opportunity to get youth in at the end of the season when we couldn't go down or up. Yeah, I agree with that. But strikers, let's talk strikers. I think we can all agree Bavarson's out the door. And we were talking about the sign of Benik Afobe. On the fence for this one as well, boys, yeah? Massively, really, for me.
Yeah.
But Afobe's, I'm going to say, I don't think he's going to be for us. I think we're going to have a combination of not enough contribution, not enough games on the pitch because he's going to be injured. However, I don't really feel it's Afobe's fault because he's
I agree.
Probably one of the best of what's available. Rowett, as we know, likes to go back to players he's used and worked with before. And I saw an article of Afobe and he said that he really felt that Rowett got the best out of him. So I'm hoping what I saw the other night isn't a true reflection and he's going to be in and around it and scoring goals. I think someone said the other day, if he scores 10, another 10 goals will really fucking push us on. But he's not going to score 20, boys, is he?
No.
It's not.
Then this is the thing, he could score 10 goals. I hope he does. And as we said, the reflection of from what you've seen the other day on a training pitch with no fans and everyone prancing around a pitch, not really giving 100% compared to a packed out den when it matters, you can deliver two completely different performances in that. So, we have to gauge it on, maybe 5-10 games, see where he's at. And then I think that's fair to make an assessment. But,
I don't think he's any better than Bradshaw.
No, I agree. Completely agree.
Yeah, I'm trying to make it sound great.
Yeah, but no, what is going to happen is he's going to come on for us, do 25 appearances, get a minor niggle. We'll end up loaning him out to Wickham. We'll get them in the FA Cup. He'll come back to the Den and they'll score in the last minute to beat us 2-1 and knock us out of the FA Cup third round. That's the kind of thing that's going to happen. I can already see it going any other way.
You can't see at the bottom there because that thing's covering it. Hang on, let me get rid of that. It says Millwall. Let's have a little prediction here. I think by the end of this season, that's going to say Benik Afobe, Millwall played 17 games, right? 10 of those as a substitute, and he scored 3 goals. That's what I reckon he's going to say. That's what it's going to say at the end of the season. Any predictions there, boys?
Yeah, I think you're about the same. I don't think he'll start too many.
No. H?
Well, he didn't exactly set Trabzonspor alight, did he? What's that? 28 performances, 5 goals. I could probably score 5 goals for Trabzonspor. Not being funny.
But Emery as well. Most of them, because I looked through it. I had a proper look when I first heard about Fabi. Most of them, he was on the subs bench. He weren't good enough to start in their first team.
Well, boys, winding back a year, he couldn't do the business for Stoke 2-19. Didn't they nearly go down that year as well?
Yeah, but the thing is, if they nearly went down that year, 1 in 4 ain't that bad.
Yeah, true. But I'm looking at him thinking he couldn't really get in Stoke's team, and we've been better than Stoke for the last 3 seasons. So why is he now in our team?
Yeah, I think so. I think someone just wrote in the comments that that Richard Lacey said if it gets to 10, Stoke take him back. If he gets to 10 goals, Stoke take him back anyway.
Yeah.
So this is the problem that you have with loan players.
Is that serious? Is that true?
No. But no, that's what he's saying. Is if he gets to 10,
him back, won't they?
Yeah.
Teddy Davis followed by 12 plus goals this season. Let's have some predictions in the comments.
Teddy, mate, I hope you're right. I hope I'm wrong. I just can't. It just screams of Uwe Fuchs, like all of
I reckon 5 goals, New Den Lions. He's going for 5 goals from Afobe. Yeah, Baz is being negative, but he's only being negative about us being negative. Give the geezer a chance. And as we said, Baz, we are going to do that. Let's really, really hope so. He's in your start 11.
I'm going to give him grief from the get-go, from the lower tier of the Dockers. Just
let him know where he's at.
Block 42. Listen here, son. Don't come over here and take a throw-in. Let someone else take it. Get in the box, try and score some goals.
Oh, yeah.
Lord, give me strength.
Someone's going for 3.5 goals. Is that goals? I thought we won't score more than 6. 10 goals, says Peter. And I'll end that chat with that exact comment. That's made my life. Yes, at least Woods isn't here. But 17 goals, I think. 3 in the Championship, 14 in the Reserve League. Well done, Steve. Good to have you back. Chris Ballard's going for 7. And again, look, I hope, as I said, people are clipping this up going, they're all slagging him off again. We're not slagging him off. I'm just not filled with confidence. So we spoke about 2 players now. All right, Afobe had 5 games for us. But we're all really second-guessing him and Ballard. Let's talk about a player we know a lot about. The fourth coming. was going to say the second coming. It's like the second times two
Like the
coming.
25th coming.
Georgie Saville.
Yeah.
I'm going to say this. I'm absolutely buzzing my tits off his back.
Yeah.
A lot of us are. I'm worried we're getting too overexcited. Boys, what are we saying about George? Gorgeous George, we're going to call him. I love him. Posh George.
There's a great saying, isn't there?
Sorry, before we start, I'm going to start by saying this. For you clowns, not you lot, because you're online, nothing personal, any Millwall fans or anyone in the comments go, well, fuck him, he's been here before. The club were offered over £7 million for George Saville. If George Saville turned around and said, club went, nah, I'm not going, what do you think the club were going to say to Saville? Fuck off, mate. Here's your plane ticket. And even if he did want to go and he did say, oh, I'm using Millwall as a stepping stone, get over it. These are people who don't get anywhere in life. It's happened. The situation's happened. Right now he's back. It's business. It is business. Football's a business.
Well, listen, Dan, Neil Harris said that Millwall was a small club compared to Cardiff, but we all still think he's an hero.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, we have short memories.
Teddy Davis, her business. Ken, what are you saying?
Yeah, there's a great saying. I can't remember who brought it up in the WhatsApp group, but it was so right and so fitting. We have finally, after 3 to 4 years, managed to replace George Saville with George Saville. And I don't think there's a better statement out there. And I don't think we have replaced him for 3-4 years or however long.
Haven't even come close.
And you know, he was a lot better, I think, than what we actually gave him credit for as well. And it weren't until he went we realised how good of a player he was. And it is exactly why Middlesbrough paid £8 million for him.
We're talking about transfer fees. Talking about transfer fees. How much do we pay for him? I don't know this. A rumour I heard someone said, and I don't know if it's true or not, but don't sue me or ban me, Mill FC. We still owe them, like they still owed us £1 million or something like that for it. So we just wiped it off and got him back, sort of thing. Do you know what I mean? They still owed us £1 million or around that. You know, they were still paying.
Even better deal. We've got £7 million and we got him back.
Yeah. Emery buzzing?
Yeah, 100%. The Middlesbrough bloke I spoke to at the end of last season, when we were doing a view from the opposition, was nothing but positive stuff about George Saville, because I said, he's been quite quiet since he's been at Middlesbrough, and he was like, yeah, but he's played well, and he's done other things for the team. He's been asked to play in a different role, so I don't think we can look too much into his numbers at Middlesbrough, which I don't think were quite as productive as they were for us. He just gives you that, like, look at that. That's not. I don't think that's. Yeah, he did better for us, didn't he? 1 in 4. We got 1 in 9 for Middlesbrough. He can also score from midfield, and we didn't have that with Ryan Woods. People always batter Ryan Woods. I've got to say, again, I think he was underutilised, played in the wrong position, wasn't given the protection he needed, was given a certain role, told to play in a certain way. And when he was given a little bit more freedom, when Billy Mitchell went in there around the back, we saw a totally different player. We didn't see enough of that last season. So that's my bit on Ryan Woods. I'm always going to defend him, because actually I think he's the kind of footballer. Yeah, all right, he's a bit lightweight, blah, blah, blah. But you've got people around him that can be that heavyweight player. In George Saville, we've got a bit of both there. And we've also got someone that can score us a goal. Ryan Woods couldn't score us a goal. And was too lightweight at times as well. So that's very promising. And we've got those holding midfield players now in depth who can hopefully free him up to go and, run the midfield a bit more. We've got Bennett who can run off him. We've got Wallace who can run off him. And then so hopefully that's just going to free up those channels so we can get McNamara and Malone down the wings as well. All of a sudden, if I'm trying to defend that as a championship manager, I'm like, hang on a second, they've got people that can run at us all afternoon and we can get goals from midfield. It's just a shame they've got Benik Afobe up front.
Ken, I'll touch on what H said there, and you was right. This is my only concern. One, it seems too good to be true for us, and 2019, in football terms, when he left us, was a long time ago. He hasn't played a lot of games under Middlesbrough. Yes, he was asked to play in a more defensive role. I remember him. Maybe I've remembered it wrong. We played 4-4-2. He was a 10, in effect. He pressed high, in behind Gregory and Morrison. This was, of course, in a Neil Harris side. Is it going to affect his game having to play in a Gary Rowett system? And how do you think he'll try and use it? Someone
again wrote in the comments there, they said that if Saville plays in the formation that Rowett did last year, it will suffocate him. And I think that's right. I slightly disagree with Henry on the talk about the CDMs. I hate it. I hate the CDMs, and And I think we're very, very negative when we play in that formation. I think that if we play a 4-4-2 and we've got a box-to-box midfielder alongside Saville, and we've got two wingers on the wings, I think that's the way that we can create a lot more, where we've got someone that can hold our midfield. People like Saville can go up. Our wingers can go up. You've got Malone and you've got McNamara, and we've got two centre forwards. I think Paul Saville will generally pull the strings around in that team.
Kenny, I'll take your point on that, but about negativity and sitting deep. And I'm not slagging off Neil Harris. I want to make this abundantly clear before people start messaging saying he doesn't respect. I do respect Neil Harris and everything he did for the club. He brought the soul back to the club. He got us promoted. All due respect. But in the Championship, after a while, we would get a goal and then we'd go to that ultra defensive sit back and invite pressure and invite pressure and invite pressure. And it was like watching that bloody England team in the Euros. Yeah. I know it's a completely different thing, but it was just the same thing. And I think that, yes, at times it is a bit defensive, but it's not as defensive as we played with some of the 4-4-2s under Neil Harris.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think with the 4-4-2 that we played with Harris, though, the problem was that it was Jake Cooper, long diag to Steve Morrison. 100%. If he don't get it, it comes back to us, Whereas Rowett definitely gets us playing a lot more on the floor now, playing a lot better football. But I'd just like to see us try and play football in that 4-4-2. And I'd like to have the likes of Jed, Mahoney, or Malone, left and right. Like the old Stephen Reeds, the Paul Eiffels, when they were bombing down the wing.
Like Basley says, two wingers, two strikers, the Millwall.
That's right.
Can I say, right? I agree with a lot that was said. I've made a lot of notes there, and then Henry said it, the England's. I agree with exactly what you said, Ken, about these fucking holding midfield players. I wrote down England. I hate it. I don't know why you need two holding midfield players to protect three central defenders. Football in this day and age just changed. It's so defensive, and I hate that. And also, I've written down 4-4-2. And as long as Gary Rowett's got a hole in his arse, it's a dead argument. He will never ever play 4-4-2. I don't think you see many managers play 4-4-2 anymore. Full stop, really. And praising Rowett. You're saying about the way we play football. Another reason towards the back end of the last season, I felt we turned a corner, not just results wise, but I thought when he had Jed and Ben out front, Billy Mitchell coming through the middle, Scott Malone left, it was all linking up really nicely. We started to knock in the type of balls that were getting defenders turning, finding little pockets in areas and across the 6-yard box. Balls that you're saying, H, and I agree with you on the Bradshaw thing, without covering too many areas at once. They're the sort of balls that Bradshaw wants, balls across the 6-yard box, getting in between defenders. We did start to play like that a lot more. But yeah, I mean, look, I do agree. I hate this holding midfield player. I hate the fact that no managers play 4-4-2 anymore, but Rowett just won't. So how do you both think he's going to use Saville? How do you think he's going to utilise him?
I mean, I hope he's not going to play him where he played Ryan Woods. Right, sure. That's my first thing, because he's going to have 2,500 completed passes for the season, but they're all going to be sideways or backwards.
Exactly.
Right, and we ain't getting anywhere with that. So you'll see in the formation that I've put up that hopefully we sticks a holding player just behind him and lets him push up with Jed and Bennett. That's what I hope, but I don't know.
Henry, I agree with you on the. I'll just say, when you said about Ryan Woods, I think Ryan Woods is a fantastic player, but he's definitely not a player that sits in front of Hutch and Cooper. And I think we've said a lot on our podcast, didn't we? Let's put him in a 10. Let's put him in a 10 and see how he gets on there, where he doesn't have the opportunity to pass it sideways. And when he did get further forward, he knocked in balls that I've never seen before in my life that Paul Pogba would do. But you can't play Saville in front of the defence. Saville can only play as a 10.
Well, this is you're right, King. And this is the point, because I've got written down here, right? This is am I not remembering it right? Because everyone's going, there's so many midfielders, right? I've got written down here: Billy Mitchell, Ben Thompson, Brian Leonard, George Evans, Keith Bell, Mahoney, and Saville. Now, the reason I've got Mahoney written in there is Mahoney, Thompson, and Saville will all play in that hole, right? None of the others probably will. Maybe, or Leonard could. But you've got more central midfielders and more people that could play in a hole. There's two different types there. You'll never see Ben Thompson sit in front of a back four now, ever.
No.
he's more of a 10. I think Saville's more of a 10. If we're going to use him in that way, do you know what I mean? But is he going to use him in that way? Because Rowett doesn't always like to. He likes to play He likes to play 3 at the back at home. That's what frustrates me. And then that's when you don't have the 10. You have the 10 when you play a flat back 4. He never plays a flat back 4 away from home, does he?
No.
He doesn't play a flat back 4 ever. A couple of times he did do it last year. We won games and he changed it.
Yeah.
Bristol City, is that right? I think he did it at Bristol. Is my memory serving correctly there?
Because Mahoney played in the 10 and fucking tore it up. But I just don't. I'm not confident he's going to play that formation. Let's move on to our teams then. Let's let us on nicely. Let's go to before we do this, look at some comments. Peter's going for a team. It's hard to know. Kenny's going to go mad because that's pretty much my team. I think Pete, what you just said. Yeah, like I'd say Mahoney and Saville could both play in that 10. I don't see where else Mahoney could play in this sort of current structure. Right. So I'm losing track a bit. Right, let's go on to teams. Right, I'm going to start with my team. I asked you both today to send me the team you go with to start the season.
I'm going to get some shit for mine. I know that.
Well, I'm going to show you mine. This is the team I go to start the season. 3 at the back: Cooper, Hutchinson, Ballard, right side of a 3. Danny Mack, right wing back. Scott Malone, left wing back. Billy Mitchell and Ryan Leonard holding. I was tempted I was very torn there between Leonard and Keithendale. With Saville in a 10 and Jed and Benik up front. Ken, what are you happy about that?
Horrendous.
Right, I'm going to say this. That is the team that I would start the season with. You got a bit of battle and a bit of bite and a bit of quality in there as well with Billy Mitchell. You've got Saville joining in with Jed and Bennett. You've got Scott Malone and Danny Mack. They pretty much picked themselves. And then the 3 centre-backs with Bart and goal. Now, the reason Jed and Bennett have to continue up front, in my opinion, is we haven't replaced or got strikers in that we need. Right? I like Matt Smith, but when he does start games, he doesn't score and he's better as an impact player. Bennett and Jed, for me, I know that Jed isn't a striker, but they really worked towards the back end of the last season. So can you tell me what's wrong with that, why you don't agree, and we'll get onto your team after. And H, what do you think of my team as well, boys?
I think that what you've done is you've picked the side that you think that Rowett would pick, and then I think you've picked the best players for them positions. That's what I think. I know why you've gone Jed and Bennett up front.
Mate, they scored a lot. They've had I feel they really struck up a partnership towards the back end of the last season.
But I'll go back to the argument, and I can pretty much remember it because I remember telling Jack this in the last podcast when Jed played right mid, as a winger, just as a winger, he scored 11 goals and I think he got 8 assists. When he played up front, he got 10 goals and 4 assists. So if you want to even it out, Jed Wallace is a far better right winger than what he is a striker, and he can offer us a lot more in ways of goals and assists.
Sorry, you're saying he does the same damage, if not more, out on the wing. So we could just do another striker there.
Well, yeah, I mean, based on them statistics, he does more damage on the wing than what he does up front. I do get why. We played him up front. We didn't really have any choice, did we? He had to go up front, and he done well. But what frustrates me is people now think he's a striker. And I'll tell you something: if he was to leave our club and go anywhere else, he'd be a winger. He wouldn't be a striker. So why has he got to be a striker with us? Yeah,
you say we're putting square pegs in round holes, isn't it? Is that the same?
Yeah.
H, what do you think of my team?
I don't. It's got Ryan Leonard in it for a start.
A year ago, I never would have had Leonard in my team, but he's really good.
I don't see that, but it looks all right. It doesn't inspire me with particular. One way or another, I can see why you've put everyone where they are. I think it's a very safe team, Dan.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
That's what I would say. I mean, it's difficult. It's difficult to know when I start seeing teams like that. I'm like, maybe Kenny's right. We should have 4-4-2 or something.
I agree, but it's just
you gritted your teeth then as well. I see that.
Well, Hen, let's talk about your side then, because there it is on the screen. Bolkowski in goal. Go on, then you took us through it.
Well, I mean, I guess the only difference bit is the two in the middle. I'd have Billy Mitchell sitting back in the hole, and I'd have Saville a bit further forwards. And I've put it was a toss up between Smith and Afobe, but I think that if we've signed him, we've got to give him a go, right? So who knows, with him and Bennett, maybe they'll create a bit more space for him to actually go and score some goals.
The thing is, Bennett will cut in. I know what you're saying. If Smith played up front there in the middle of those two, they'd cut in. They wouldn't put the right type of crosses in for him, would they? For Smith,
I don't know. I think you've got to be looking at Malone and McNamara to do that, really. And obviously, the big controversy there's probably sticking Marlon Romeo, but I thought he did very well when he was in the back three towards the end. I mean, you know, he had a difficult season for a number of reasons last year, but I still think that actually him and Danny Mac could play very well together. And if Mac got caught in possession further up the pitch, Romeo could slot into that, and everyone could shuffle across. Malone could come across. If we could organise that correct. I mean, I know that actually against Bournemouth didn't work particularly well, but you know, we didn't have Hutch and Cooper at the back to marshal it. So with a bit more sort of rigidity, that might work a bit better.
Ken, what are you thinking about Henry's team?
I mean, I'd rather have Romeo up front than in defence.
Have you gone a little bit Kyle Walker for England there, thinking where he's pacey and he can redeem himself if there was a fuck up?
I think, yeah, but do you know the problem is like who is it? Was it Tony Witter? Romeo would be the only player that would make a cock up around about there. So he'd be chasing back his own cock ups.
I agree. That's what I said about Kyle Walker during the thing. All right, he can recover from a cock up, but he's the one who's made the cock up.
I don't think that. I mean, Romeo for me, I always quite liked Romeo. Especially I think it was Romeo that had Onyedemia in front of him. That was I used to think that was quite a good little partnership. But since that's sort of gone, I don't think that Romeo really gives us anything. He looks energetic. He looks like he's doing a lot. He can't defend, in my opinion. He can't cross a ball, and when he cuts in and hits it with his left foot, I've only ever seen him score once from doing it, and I swear it come off Bradshaw's back of his boot. So, and that was was it the 4-1 win against? And I remember it because I always back us to win 4-1, so I was over the moon. Romeo was my best mate then, but the three with. You're right with them. I think they're cutting in a bit too much, and I'm not slagging off your team. And with Mitchell, I'm still not sold on Mitchell. I've had this discussion with Dan quite a few times. I think that he could be a great for us, Billy Mitchell. I really do, but I honestly don't think it's now. And I think that we could potentially damage Billy Mitchell, giving him a full season in the Championship this season. And I would really like to see Billy Mitchell go out on loan in League One and then have him back. I think it's too early, but it's all about opinions, you know.
Yeah, but I'm getting really defensive of him, but I just know that he's Rowett's number one. I'm not saying that you're not right or I'm not right, but I know that Rowett, how much Rowett rates him, and I think he's going to be number one in there. Like back in the day, you'd have 11 players, wouldn't you? And 3 subs. Now, mate, I watched this the other day against Fulham. You could have out there 2 sides, and they both compete in the Championship. We got too many players. We've got far too many players. We're going to get onto that, who we need to get rid of and who we can still do with getting in. We'll get onto that after we've looked at Kenny's team. I think this is going to be the most popular team with within the comments. With the exception of the goalkeeper. Oh, okay. But this is an interesting one which we can talk about because I've not looked at it, to be honest. Well, I did look at it. But I didn't look at the goalkeeper. I took Bart as a given. Taking the other day, mate. Yeah, you've put long in. Here we go. Then go on in, Ken. Talk us through your team. Well, I'm either old-fashioned or a psychopath, I think. Listen, I love Bart. I really do. And I think he has been a fantastic player for us. But I do honestly believe that over the last season, he made a few errors. Don't get me wrong. He saved us in a lot of games as well. So, I'm not here to slag him off. I think he's been brilliant. But I don't know whether anybody else noticed. There was a few times he let some goals in, and I just looked and thought he hasn't moved for that. Like his legs weren't working, type of thing. And for me, I honestly think. I think that Bart will start the season,
But I don't think that he will play the full season. I think that Long is a very, very good goalkeeper. And I think that he will push Bart to the extreme. That's either going to do one or two things. Bart's going to have an absolutely worldie of a season again, like he did over, say, 90% of the season, or Jules Long's going to push through. But either way, it's good for us as a club. So,
agreed. We're strong like that in lots of positions now. I mean, He's had a very strong pre-season. You've got Scott Malone, Junior Tienza, both left wing backs. We'll get on to it later. We've got so much strength in depth now. It's actually frightening. Mate,
a comment
the other day, I was standing right behind Bart's goal, mate. He didn't move, and I think you're right. I think they've got Long in with a view to Bart eventually handing over the baton.
Which age, right? Age more than anything.
Of course,
with Bart has got to start becoming more and more of a factor. He came to us with a dodgy knee, was that right? There was some underlying issue there that meant the transfer got postponed, and he's had 2 cracking seasons. Kenny, you're very, very brave for dropping our player of the season 2 years on the bounce for him. But anyway, fair play, mate. I love that. I mean, I've got Romeo in the back 3, so so it swings and roundabouts, isn't it?
I've gone a little bit more adventurous. I've gone to you boys have gone for it really, and I've gone a little bit safe, maybe. I don't know. Go on, Ken. Sorry, mate. Carry on.
Yeah, look. The reason for my selection is I'm going out on what I would pick. This is my opinion. I think that we have a solid back 4, and our right back and our left back are both players that can overlap. I also think, like I've said before, I think Jed Wallace is a fantastic right winger, and I think Mahoney is a great player to be serving very, very good crosses into the box. I also think that Saville can then become a 10, and I also think that Leonard. Listen, I don't know about anybody else, but I think that Leonard, before he got injured, was one of or the best player that we had in our squad at that time. And if he can get back to that sort of form, he can be our CDM and he can be our central midfielder, and he could also be a 10. All in one set of play. The miles that he does in a game is incredible. And I just think then if you've got Mahoney crossing the ball over from the left, you've got Bennett in the box, you've got Smith in the box, you've got Saville coming in from the middle, you've got Jed coming in from the right, but we've also still got a solid 4, essentially. So with Leonard and our defenders.
Sorry, I'm not laughing at that, Ken.
Yeah, I just see it.
That's everything, right, mate. That's not just like H. I'm going to talk after you about Kenny's team. Sorry. And what I don't agree with and what I do agree. What do you think of Kenny's side there? I mean, look, on paper, Ken, the 4-4-2, it sounds magical. But I just think we're having a non-argument here. That's the only problem I've got with it.
Of course.
I'm saying Rowett's wrong. H, what do you think of Kenny's team?
Well, I think Malone and McNamara are probably the 2. They're more wing-back style players. I don't think either of them are as solid at the back. I'd potentially maybe have Wallace and Romeo if I was going to play in that situation. But I know why you've got those there.
On the left-hand side, I love Malone, but he can't defend. And if I was going to play 4, I'd have Murray Wallace. I don't agree with Romeo. I'd stick with Danny Mac. Go on, mate. Carry on.
Mahoney, I love that. I love where he is. I love where Jed is as well. I think that's great. I totally see what Kenny's done in midfield as well with Saville and Leonard, even though I still don't get Ryan Leonard. And Bennett and Smith up front. Yeah, I think you're going to get 60 minutes out of Bennett, aren't you? I love Mason Bennett, by the way, but he looks like he smokes 90 fags a day and has never shaved in his life. So I don't know, is he living in a camper van? He just rolls out of it in the morning, scruffy as anything, and just like, I don't know. But for me, I'd probably put Bradshaw and Smith up there and give them a run in the team. But I totally see what you're doing, Kenny. I quite like that, to change it up. It'd be nice to go to an away day and see that team go and see what they could do. But I do think the Malone, maybe Danny Mac, maybe I'm a bit too harsh, but I think having those wing backs attacking like they do, unless McNamara is going to swap with Jed like Romeo and he used to do on that right hand side, and the same on Malone. I'm not sure Conor Mahoney's the greatest defender in the entire planet if they were going to do that, but yeah, interesting.
I mean, if I was going to go with that, Ken, if I had to play a 4-4-2, man, you've got to play 4-4-2. The only things I'd change, obviously, I'd have Bart in goal, but I do see what you're saying with Long's going to come in eventually, I believe. Scott Malone, I love, but he can't defend. I was watching the other day; he's so far advanced in opposed to where Danny Mack was on the opposite side of the pitch. He doesn't want to defend either. So I would go Murray Wallace left back, and I'm going to be a little bit controversial here. I would play Malone where Mahoney is, and the reason being is I love Mahoney. I think he's our most talented player, but it just ain't fucking happened for him, and I just don't think it's going to. I just don't, and I don't see where he's going to play in Rowett's structure. However, what we're saying there about we didn't play the right formation for Matt Smith, that's exactly the right formation for Matt Smith. They'll get the exact right crosses in for him there to be scoring goals. I like it, Ken, but I cannot see it happening, unfortunately.
No, listen, I can't either, Dan. I can't either. But that I think I'll go on. Unfortunately, I'll go on statistics quite a lot of the time. And as I've said loads, I do believe at the moment, unfortunately, Matt Smith is our best striker. And so if he is our best striker, as
Aidan O'Brien once said, the stats don't lie.
No, and if we're gonna have to play Matt Smith, then let's work to his strengths, and that would be the way that I'd have to play it in order to get more goals out of him.
Okay, good. So that's all our team sorted. That's all the signings discussed. I've just put that on the screen here from Teddy Davis because as we go, I make notes. I mean, always structure the show anyway. You've got the busy running order earlier on the group, but I'll just make notes. The first note I made of tonight, right, as we was chatting, I think it's something Henry said, was Keith and Evans, right? And Teddy just said there, no Keith and Bell in no teams. Think that could wind up a poor signing. I don't think that Evans and Keith and Bell were poor signings by any stretch. However, Evans was awful the other day. But I don't think you're going to see either of them get in much this year. I think when I said at the time Rowett needs to do X, Y, and Z to keep his job, he brought those two in at the time to stop the rot. But I think going forward, you're not going to see a lot from either of those. H, would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think that they are good, solid championship backup players, aren't they? Really, if we're talking about a couple of Ryan End gets injured again, we need someone to sit in front. Maybe he wants to, if we're trying to defend the lead from somewhere and he's going to sit back and soak up a bit of pressure, as much as we love that, he's going to bring him on then. But yeah, I mean, Evans looked good, didn't he, when he first started? But he's had a couple of mares. Like that Bournemouth game was shocking. And Cliftonveld, the thing I love about Cliftonveld is he likes to tackle. He reminds me of like Alex Ray in that sense, just flying into challenges left, right, and centre, which is quality.
You're halfway there as a Millwall player with the fans if you like flying into a tackle, aren't you?
Yeah, well, I think he got booked like 3 times. He played 5 games or something, didn't he? He's certainly, just lamping people all over the shop. So breaking up play or whatever, but didn't really offer much else. But we shall see.
What Teddy said there about could turn out to be poor signings. I don't think that's poor signings, Ted, but I do know exactly what you're saying. I think they're players for the here and now, and I think that going forward, you're not going to see either of them. Ken, what's your thoughts on that?
I think that Evans and Corned Beef were exactly what we needed at that time, and that is it. I think we needed something, in that sort of defensive midfielder sort of role. We was a little bit light, weren't we, as well? If I remember rightly there. The problem is that we don't necessarily need them. I agree with Henry. They are great championship backup players, and that they're great to have on the bench if we want to soak up a bit of pressure, etc. I hit the nail on the head there.
Yeah. Well, boys, while we were talking there, I managed to upload George Evans' Wikipedia page. So it's going to pop on the screen now. It's not going to be a full graphic because I've only just literally put it on, but we'll see it here. I did want to talk about this. When we signed him, and I don't mind him at all, but I think he's better at the back than he's in midfield. However, he had some horrendous games towards the back end of last season. If you look at that, he's not actually played a lot of games anywhere he's gone. Look, Man City, obviously, he didn't play at all. But looking, Reading, 2 full seasons, 59. Oh, that's arguably not too bad. But 3 years at Derby, only playing 34 times. That's not even 1 full season in 3. So I don't think we're wrong in saying what we're saying, which leads me on to the next thing on the agenda. I don't know where the agenda is. I'm looking around for it. Where are we as a squad? Are you both comfortable with who we've got is there anywhere you think we need to strengthen? Is there anyone you'd like to see get out the door? As a squad, do you think we're strong enough to stay in the champ, H?
To stay in the Championship, yeah, I think we probably are. The thing that worries me is the depth and quality of our strikers again, right? Like that was our problem last season, was scoring goals. I don't see how we have remedied that. I hope we've remedied that, but I don't see how we haven't brought in a player like last season. All right, Troy Parrott didn't work out, but we were like, oh, that's quite an exciting signing. Like we had Harry Kane before. It's the kind of player that might lift us up to the next level. Didn't happen for whatever reasons, injuries, wasn't good enough, whatever. We've still got John Daddy with us. Lots of huff and puff. I think people give him a lot of grief. I think he's only scored 2 goals for us or something. Fair enough. But, he does try his best for us, but he just doesn't look like he's good enough for this level, which is amazing considering he plays international football, albeit for Iceland. So I think strikers worry me, but everywhere else, we've got that strength in depth to be a team that could kick on for the playoffs. It's just one of our strikers. It would be great if we get just one of them to step up and score, like we said, even 10 goals. With the added goals coming from Bennett and Wallace and a few others from elsewhere, Cooper's going to get you 4 or 5 from set pieces. Malone scored 4 or 5 last season when he came in, and he looked electric the other day. He just looked like he ain't been off all summer. Like he was just involved in everything, whipping balls. Just watching him up close as well, like you can hear everything they're saying. He's so confident, and he's just always looking to hurt the opposition. Yeah.
I think that's in effect what could keep Mahoney out of the side. Volta Sampaio, sorry to change the subject. We need Maradona, Pele, and Eusebio. So I think Volta Sampaio, if you're a regular to the live stream, you know what that's about. If you're not, sorry. But yeah, I think what Volta is getting at there is at points maybe we need to wind our neck in and be happy with what we got. Just that one striker again, and we just haven't. I think it's a little bit with a Windass potential signing. We offered 400 grand in instalments for a £5 million player. Like, what's it going to take for us to go to that next level, break the bank in the transfer record, Ken?
Do you know what, though? We are happy with what we've got.
What, Ken? I think if we went out and bought a striker for £10 million, I don't think you'd like
shit. No, I wouldn't. But that's because I'm that type of Millwall supporter. If that makes sense. But also, we are happy with what we've got. I've said this already. I've been more than happy with a Laffy starting up front. I've been more than happy with seeing that Nana Boateng on the bench. I wouldn't be happy with seeing Tyler Berry anywhere near the first team. But it's when you then go and sign a player like Benik Afobe, we're allowed to have an opinion, and we're allowed to judge it. Because if you're going to go and make a signing, in my opinion, make it worthwhile. And make the team better. Does Benik Afobe's stats, based on his stats, is that going to make our team better?
Yeah.
The answer is no. So let's give one of our own grown players a chance. And if he messes up, we're not going to moan about it.
Spot on. I think it's a little bit like my team selection tonight, boys. You're saying if we're going to fucking do something, let's fucking actually do something instead of playing safe like Dan has with his 11. Let's take the fucking risk. Let's spend a bit of money. Let's go with that homegrown player. Because if we're going to get the same mundane advancing shit, we'd rather not have bothered. H. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I think again though, when we have taken chances on players in the past, and it hasn't always worked out. And I always go back to Uran, that Russian geezer, comes in the middle of a season which has been a dreadful season. Everyone starts writing Russian flags, and there's 14,000. We have to put all the Port Vale fans in the tiny little corner of the ground, and everyone's getting excited. And now we're going to make a kick on for promotion, and we still get relegated. If you look on paper, he's still a quality signing. Uran's I'm not being for a Russian national team, all of that kind of stuff. Yeah, it didn't work out or whatever, but he was a quality footballer. But at the time, we were just so bereft of morale, we were never going to do anything. Now, this is the complete opposite situation. Exactly like you're saying, Kenny, we've got a team which is full of potential talent and can do the job all over the park, with the exception for somebody that could come in and make that difference up top. And we, whether that's a loan signing or we give we just haven't upgraded what we've already got in our team. We've added more of the same.
Yeah.
And not only have we added more of the same, we've added somebody who hasn't really, like, if he'd banged in 15, 16 goals last season for Trasbon, fair play.
Yeah.
He scored 5 goals.
Yeah.
And I hope I'm wrong. I'll always punch that with I hope I'm wrong, but it's just like you say, I'd much prefer to see, a young player given a shot than bringing in a loan signing from Stoke.
Well, look, as well, I always say, and I think we all always say this as well, we could have whoever we like up front. They aren't going to score goals because they don't get the service. But look at it now, right? If you've got Malone on the left, Jed on the right, Bennett as well, and Saville in behind, surely that's going to create. Surely that's going to create.
You would think so, right?
Any opinions on who could fill that void? We're all sitting here saying, well, what we need is this and what we need is that. And this is where I struggle as well. I couldn't actually go, well, that's the player we should go and get. A few people saying Liam Delap in the comments.
I don't think we need another player, Dan. I said it last season. I'll say it again. I honestly believe that we've got the players in our squad to push for the playoffs already. And that was last season. I mean, granted, now we've got these players, but that we have to play these players the right way. Again, we had a player in Ryan Woods last season. I hated Woods last season but I didn't hate him. I hated him because of where he was playing and where he was made to play. Yeah. And I felt like it was everyone other than Rowett could see that bloke would be 10 times better 20 metres up the pitch. And that's why you get frustrated. So it's all right having George Saville. It's all right having Benik Afobe. We could have Cristiano Ronaldo in our squad, but if he's playing left wing back, he's not going to score many goals. Do you know what I mean? It's just one of them things. I'll tell you, I would like to see go. And this is going to be quite controversial. I want to see Ben Thompson go.
It's been talked about in the comments. I mean, look, I think the likeness is the gaffer has said as well that no one's going to come in before people leave. He's already said Bod Varson can leave. I think you're likely to see Alafe, Alex Mitchell, and Tyler Berry all leave on loan. I want to cover that one quickly. Tyler Berry come from AFC Wimbledon in 2019. So 2.5 years later, we're trying to loan him back to a League One side for experience. For me, that says he hasn't progressed. And he can run fast, but he isn't very good, honestly. Alex Mitchell, I think, will really benefit from a League One, League Two loan for a season. And then Alafe, personally, I would keep. So Jed, the contract, I believe, will get sorted. So it only really leaves, I think, Budvarsson, who's, as I said, been told he can leave, and Thompson. So, yeah, go on, Ken. Where do you stand on Thompson? And then
again, before Saville came, I threw stats at everybody in the last podcast where Ben Thompson effectively was our best midfielder last season. He'd scored more goals and he'd made more assists and he'd spent less time on the pitch than most of our midfielders. As hard as that may be to believe, and it was true, it's facts. However, I can't watch someone like Ben Thompson get fucked about again for another season. Do you know what? We either incorporate him because I think he's a good midfielder, or we go, Ben, thanks ever so much. Go to Portsmouth, play 40 games a season, and show us that we were wrong, or show that the majority of the Millwall fans were wrong. I don't want to see him be fucked about.
It's similar to what you're saying to Billy Mitchell. Like, you don't want to see people playing 10, 15 games. You want to see him progress and you want to see him play. Now, I agree with what you said, Ben Thompson. When we're both sitting there saying Ben Thompson's a great player, he isn't a great player. Me and you both know he isn't a great player.
Yeah.
He may not get 2,000 completed passes, but he comes onto the pitch and he affects football matches. And I feel that Ben Thompson is falling a little bit in the Evans and Keithton belt. He was what we needed for the here and now. But going forward, like Henry says, if you want to progress, it's probably time for him to get out the door, isn't it? For his own good as well as the club's.
Unfortunately, I think so. I mean, he tries so hard because he's a Millwall fan. He plays the game probably like a lot of us fans would. He just runs around and tries to impact the game in any way that he can. And last season, unfortunately, I felt that was more negative than it was positive. He had a few games where he really was quite poor, and some of the
Yeah.
worst performances I think we've seen of him. Now, I don't blame him for that. I think again he was trying to fit into a system which perhaps doesn't suit his style of play, because as we've said, he's more of a number 10 pushing on, and we saw how good he could be when he started scoring goals against Birmingham when he came back from Portsmouth in that first loan. But he was slipping and sliding all over the shop. I don't know how many times he lost his footing, but someone pointed it out to me, and I started going, "Oh yeah!" And like in every single game, it was like he was Bambi on ice and just flinging himself all over the shop, like a bit like a headless chicken, like he was trying to prove a point, and he just looked like someone that was fighting for his professional career at Millwall towards the end of last season, which I think is a shame. But I think for his own good, yeah, he should go to Portsmouth. Good football.
You say this, he's one of our own. And touching on what you said there, he is, in my opinion, over-invested in the club.
That's what it looks like to me when you see when I saw him throwing himself about and losing his footing so much last season. I was like, that's because he's just trying too hard. Bless him.
He doesn't want to play anywhere.
Like, fair play to the bloke.
Yeah, so I mean, but again, I know for a fact he was Portsmouth bound at one point at the back end of last season, but situations changed within the squad, and he fair play to him, he forced his way back in. And I watched the other day against Fulham again. He was the only one that played 90 minutes, and he fell over a couple of times. Yes, he knocked a couple of misplaced passes, but he was lively. He was getting in behind. He had an effort over the bar. We need those type of players at Mill, but it's a very, very difficult one. Thompson, would you keep him or would you not keep him? Angus McClellan just says he needs longer studs. And there's another comment I just want to agree with Chris. I love Murray Wallace. I love Murray Wallace as well. I think he's, but there you go. Ugly Jack, but proper committed. Is that talking about Thompson as well? I'm not sure.
Probably Wallace.
Ugly Jack.
And just getting on to Wallace, Teddy Davis getting a lot of airtime, like I said. How are people saying sell Jed? Now, there was a question about Jed with this contract issue. He's out of contract at the end of this coming season. So if he doesn't sign a new contract, then he will leave the club on a free. What is he, the wrong side of 27 as well now?
Just about, yeah. He's reaching that
threshold. I think Jed's a bit big time. He knows he's a big fish in a small pond. I don't think he's succeed anywhere else. He wants a new contract. The club can't agree on that. So my interpretation of, again, I don't know anything, and I'm using examples. If he's on, for example, 12 grand, he might want 20 and the club are only offering 15 or something like that. And at the minute, they can't agree on terms. And there was a rumour Burnley were interested. But I think that will get resolved. If we did sell him, we predominantly sell players for nowhere near what we should. But also, it's only got a year left. So if you could cash in on Jed and get 5 million and swap him in for example, a brand new striker with that 5 million. Because don't forget, if we sell him as well for 5 million, JB's not giving us the whole full 5 there, is he? If you could sell Jed to reinvest it in a better sense, Ken, would you do it?
Yeah, I don't think we'd get 5 million for Jed.
Never.
I don't think.
We only got 5 million when he was on fire a couple of years ago.
No, honestly, I don't. Listen, Jed is such an awkward one. Such an awkward one, because one game you'll watch him play and you'll be like, he is out of this world. Right, and then the next game you watch him and go, he was the worst player on the pitch. And you just wish he found that middle ground, you'd be happy. The big problem with Jed as a right winger, we don't really have anybody as a backup for him, do we? Really? You've got, Mahoney?
Tyler Berry.
No, he ain't a backup. He's horrendous. Right, he is horrendous. He should be nowhere near the first team. I haven't seen him. All he does is run with the ball, get fouled, or lose it. A bit like Jed, really. Apart from Jed managed to bang sort of 10, 11 goals in a season. But that's why Jed is a like you say, is a big fish in a small pond, because there's no one else to replace him in our squad, really. And over the last 2 seasons of desperation that we've had, he's been the one to bail us out, essentially, and score the goals. I don't think Jed will have a great season this season. If we end up having a striker that scores goals and he's not the big daddy anymore, I don't think Jed will have a good season.
I agree, but I don't think we're going to get that striker that's going to score the goals.
Oh, no.
You think, mate?
I don't know. We've got to keep him. There's no two ways about that. I know he blew hot and cold last season, but so did everyone. And I think without him and him trying to take that mantle on and making something happen, I think he really took that on himself last year to try and do it. The other point I'd make is we got how much for Saville? 7 million. Well, we never signed anyone. Did we get Ryan Leonard in? And I'm really sorry, he's underwhelmed me completely. Like as a replacement for Saville, they're not even in the same league, in my opinion.
No, I agree on that.
So even we're not. So first of all, we've agreed we're not going to get near 5 million for him, right? Okay. So, I mean, so so we're not, and we wouldn't get the money in anyway. But it'll all be in instalments or cupcakes getting sent down, or electricity bills being paid, or like I don't know, whatever. We wouldn't get whatever that cash is, and we wouldn't be able to go and spend it on a striker that could replace him to a player of his quality. People forget, right, that for the past 2 seasons he's been rated, and Kenny, you've talked about statistics a lot this evening, but if you look at his statistics in terms of assists and goals, he is in the top 5 or 6 or 7 players, not just in the Championship but across Europe. And people, and that's 2 years on the spin now. So his profile's got to be up there now. I mean, I don't think he's the be all and end all, but I've loved watching his development since he came in on loan from Wolves. Looked like he was, could be a good player, and then really, came and just made the difference a couple of times. And I think when he had to go back to Wolves and we lost to Barnsley in the playoffs, that was one of the contributing factors. Obviously, the other one was the injury to Byron and some terrible managerial decisions about who the captain was going to be. But you've got. I think he's a quality player. I'd be gutted if he left. And he's quite right. Peter's quite right. He probably is the only. I don't think he's the only player. I think Mason Bennett could, if he stayed fit.
I was going to say that. That's what I highlighted. I said I think Bennett could be up there with him this year. Ken, do you agree?
I wouldn't sell him unless someone come along and went, look, if someone turned around and went, we'll give you 5 million for Jed, I'd say bite their hands off. But I think that if Jed, this is what happened last season or the season before. If Jed doesn't play well, we don't play well, and that was a big problem for us.
But Kenny, if we're not going to see the money, what's the point in selling him? I mean, he might want to wait, and he might go, do you know what, I've had my head turned and I want to go and earn 23, 24 grand a week like George Saville did. I think Saville only left us because Pulis turned around and said, here's 3 times what you're on.
Yeah.
And like you said, we take that money, but we wouldn't see that £5 million.
No, if we had
over the next 60 years, like I said, and it would be paying our electricity bill, and
But how much did we pay for Jed originally?
Well, yeah, that's right. Yeah, it was a combination.
Yeah, and that's what we're looking at. If we were to get that money and we spent that money on another Jed, then it wouldn't be a problem. But what I'm saying, I would like to see us play without Jed. I said this last season. I'd like to see us play 5 games without Jed, and see whether that changes things, changes the way we play, maybe even changes our formation because Jed isn't in the team. But I do agree, Jed is one player where you do have to keep him on the pitch because he has that one little moment of magic. I'm not a fan of Jed Wallace. I just think that he was played out of positions and etc. etc. I'd quite happily keep him, but we have to have a replacement for him as well, or at least someone in mind as a backup.
I expect Jed Wallace. I am a fan of Jed Wallace, and it may seem that I'm not, because I expect more from him because I know that he's better than everyone else. It's one of them ones. You know what I mean? It's like the teacher's pet. What do you mean for this one occasion you haven't done your homework? You're fucking brilliant. Why are you not doing your homework? Can you said something there? If you could get 5 million from you, bite their hand off and buy another Jed Wallace. Do either of you think a £5 million rated player would, no disrespect to our club, want to join Millwall?
No. What I'm saying is buy someone that was progressive like Jed Wallace. So when we bought Jed Wallace, say for the 600,000, if it was 1.2 can buy, say it was 600,000, right? I'd quite happily take the 5 mil for Jed and go and find a young, exciting right winger. Only because I know wingers are up and down anyway. That's a winger for you. Yeah. But I'd rather go and buy a couple of wingers or something like that. I just think that sometimes Jed impacts our game in the wrong way sometimes, as well as what he does.
Yeah, we build it around Jed instead of maybe building how we can win a game.
How many times he gave the ball away last season?
Well, this is the thing. I mean, like Harry said, at times, moments of magic, but then other times, ridiculously naive and non-football brain mistakes. Do you know what I mean? But This is going to take us back now to pretty much to how we started the show. It's probably how we're going to end it because we're kicking on that, boys. I'm going to keep you all night. Anna Kiriaka was obviously Danny, bearded Danny. He's on his missus' thing. Jed is our best player, but don't fit into Rowett's system. That's why he's playing up front. And then John Payne says, what is Rowett's system? We started the season talking about Rowett. Let's finish the season. The show, if I can get my fucking words out. Talking about Rowett again. How will he approach this season? How do you think he'll start the season formation-wise? And how do you think we're going to do? En?
Same as last season. Sorry, Ken, you go, mate.
Go on, whoever.
I think that he'll start as he ended. Yeah. The difference is that he's got a few other players in now. Like you say, people like Malone's going to be chomping at the bit. I think that Cooper and Hutch know that they've got a highly rated centre back up their arse, but I don't think that will ever change their bond, if that makes sense. I think they're two good centre backs. I think they work well together. You've got Afobe up front who's got to prove a point. This potentially is maybe one of his last opportunities to really show what he's about before he starts stepping down the ladder in the football pyramid. Jed's only got a year left on his contract, wants to stay at Millwall, wants more money. So he's probably, that might be a case where I'll play 10 games and I'll show you that I'm worth 20 grand a week or whatever. There's a lot of things there where I think that we will go all guns blazing, but we went all guns blazing a few seasons ago and then we went straight back to defend, didn't we? So it's just a case. I don't know, Dan, is the answer. After all that.
Hey, QPR away. What's Rowett's approach for that game? How do you think he's approaching this season? Do you think he's thinking fans are back, I've got to push the boat out a little bit, or is he thinking, fuck the fans, I'll do what I believe is right and that's what I'm sticking to?
He's got a 3-year plan that he keeps going on about. So this is, I don't know what year we are going to allow him.
This is third year, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, but do we give him last year? I know what you're saying, mate. Yeah. I mean, this is really, I think, we've either got to improve. I mean, the problem that he's got is that the tail end of his first season, we just missed out on the playoffs. Last year, we were in the running for the playoffs going into the last 2 or 3 games. This season, if we don't do the same thing, people are going to say we've gone backwards. And that's actually quite a high standard that he set himself there. Now, I think actually, if you looked at the back three, what I think he'll probably start with, which would be Cooper, Hutch and Ballard, McNamara, Malone. Let's say he sticks in Lendog, Saville, Jed, Bennett and Afobe. But that, all right, Afobe's unproven, but he's had
sounds good, doesn't it?
It does sound good on paper.
Yeah.
I think he'll do that, but I think he might be slightly more conservative and continue to play some kind of passing around the back with Leonard sitting back there, Hutch, Cooper, Leonard, Hutch, Leonard, Cooper, Hutch, backwards, forwards, McNamara, back across the Hutch. Maybe Saville might get a touch every now and then. that kind of thing.
Sorry, just to cut in your neck, because you reminded me of something he said after one of the games. And it was on Sky. I remember I watched it afterwards, and he said, "I want to play away, but at the minute I haven't got the players to do that." But he hasn't really added greatly, other than Saville, has he? So is he still going to try and play that way now? Because what he did at the back end of last season, when it wasn't working out, we were 14 games without a win. He did go, fuck me. He started going more direct, playing Ben Thompson. And I think Rowett was standing on the touchline thinking, what the fuck have I got here? Not Thompson, I'm talking the whole setup. What have I signed up for here? I want to play this certain way. And like I said, he said he didn't feel he had the players to do that. But we haven't really added in great deal. Okay, we've got Afobe, Ballard. I suppose you argue we could. We've got a new striker, new centre midfielder, and new centre back.
It's frustrating.
What do you think is a success in Rowett's mind for us this season, and the club and the chairman? Not from the fans' perspective, because we always expect more. But
I don't know. It'll be conservative again. I think Rowett would be quite happy with another mid-table finish and say that it's we're moving on. The problem is that Rowett is very, very stubborn, and this is the big problem. So everyone and their mother could see last season or the season before, if you just added, say, that little bit of Ben Thompson or that little bit of Bennett there or something, and let the shackles off, so to speak. We were exciting, we were attacking, and 9 times out of 10 we'd win the game. And I think that Rowett was more scared about that, like you just said, like, shit, what have I done here? Because all of a sudden, was it Nottingham Forest, and all of a sudden we go and do an unexpected 3-0 win or something like that. And then he goes back to his old ways. That's when we get frustrated as fans, because we go, well, we've seen what we're capable of doing. Why have you just gone back to playing Ryan Woods in front of Cooper? You know, at one point you had Evans and Ryan Woods right almost in line with Cooper and Hutchinson. We don't want to see that as Millwall fans. And I've always said I'd rather lose 3-0 and give it an absolute goal and be exciting, adventurous, try new things, than just sit back for 90 minutes and lose 3-0 anyway.
I think what Danny said was right. You got. I mean, I always say that, but to a point, we want to stay in the division. But there was an opportunity at the back end of the last season when we was safe and we could have experimented and tried to do things, and we didn't. Did we?
And that's where I started to lose faith in him. Really, it was when we started having absolutely diabolical performances, and he's still playing Alex Pearce. Now, I'm not going to dig Alex Pearce out; he's club captain and all that. But at the same time, we lost 4-1 to Bournemouth anyway. We lost 6-1 at bloody Coventry, and I don't even know where to begin with it. I mean, what I do know is that he needs to start the season well, because if we don't get a win in our first 5 games, he's going to be under so much pressure. And that's when players don't play well, because the crowd turns, people come back, they're excited about being back. Now, we've got Blackpool at home on at the end of August, and I think that's going to be such a crucial game. I think we've got a really difficult start. We haven't won at QPR since the late 80s. I think Harry Cripps was probably still playing. We haven't won at Loftus Road for that long. All right, then we got Blackburn at the Den. Difficult game. They're a good team.
They always seem to do well against us at the Den as well.
Well, that's the other thing. They continually, but I think we beat them. No, we lost 2-1, did we? Yeah, anyway. Then we got Fulham. Difficult game. So, already there, you can see pressure building and people starting to think, well, hang on, what we're doing, even if we only draw those first few games. Then we've got Blackpool coming down at the end of August, and it's the kind of game that Blackpool will be rubbing their hands thinking, we've just come up, we've got a point to prove. Let's go to the Den. They had a poor season there last year. They haven't started well, and they'll fancy that fiction. We lose that game.
Well, we don't beat the teams we should beat. We beat the teams we shouldn't beat.
Exactly.
So, let's wrap this up. We're sitting here now, 1 year, 365 days from today. What have we said about this season? Where did we finish? And is Gary Rowett still in charge? Ken? I just made that wasn't in the busy itinerary you two got. I just made that up. So roll with it.
I know what I'd like to be saying. I'd like to be turning around and going, do you know what? We fucking absolutely got this wrong. What an absolute masterclass by Rowett. How we managed to loan Afobe out from Stoke when he's managed to bang in 30 goals this season, right? Do you know what I mean? Like that. That's what I want to be saying. And boys, I can't wait for Liverpool away next season. However, it's going to go one or two ways, isn't it? It's going to go that way where we're happy or we're content if we just miss out on the playoffs, or we lose in the playoffs, because that's our next step, isn't it? It's got to be 7th or in the playoffs. That if it's a 3-year plan, etc., etc. If it's not,
the players are confident. And I saw a thing Scott Malone said something like, "If we don't finish top 10, it's a failure."
I saw that.
Now, Adrian Nin said we're being negative, and I do. I think sometimes I'll be the first to admit I don't want to be negative, because I agree with what Adrian says. I think we've got a good squad. I just think we're a little bit short up top. I understand where we are as a club. But in life in general, I just always want more and want to progress. And people say, I wouldn't want to go up. You would want to go up. All right, for one season, you don't want to turn into a fucking
100%.
popcorn and half club. But look back at when we was up in the 80s, late 80s, the iconic photos, the kits, just for 1 year, we'd want to go up. So I do understand what Adrian's saying. Ken, before we move on to Emery, where do you think we'll finish? And will Rowett still be in the job at the end of the next season? Literally, we're going to finish X. Yes or no, Rowett will be in charge?
I think we'll finish in the playoffs. I don't think Rowett will be in charge.
Why? How does that work out? You think
I think that like Henry said, he's got 5 games. I think that if he doesn't do well, I think that he'll start getting pressure on him. And in the end, I think more than likely, I think Rowett would walk rather than be sacked. Because he's that type of manager, isn't he?
You're saying this, I don't have a fucking prediction. You're saying that Rowett won't start well. He'll leave. He'll jump before he's pushed. Someone else will take over and take us into the playoffs.
Yeah, that's what I think. Yeah.
Get on that one at Ladbrokes.
Remember, I was the one who predicted 3-2 against Everton.
To Kelly's first ever pre-match prediction on the channel, we predicted Millwall to beat Everton 3-2 in the FA Cup. And he's still dining out on that.
I haven't got one right since.
H, what do you think, mate? So Kenny's going for a playoff finish with Rowett not in charge 365 days from now.
I hope I'm wrong, but I think if Rowett gets it wrong, I think he goes, and I think we end up finishing something like 16th. Just because we've got a good enough squad to sort of be there or thereabouts. Trevor Davis is sort of along the lines. But, you know, what we didn't, if everyone stays fit, it's two very different scenarios here. If everyone stays fit, we've got a really good run at the playoffs, I think, regardless of who's up top, because I think actually, look, Matt Smith's put his hand up and scored 4 goals in pre-season. Bradshaw, again, still I don't think has been given a decent run in the side, and at some stage he's got to go shit or bust with him. So maybe that's after Afobe doesn't do what he needs to do or does do what he needs to do. I don't know. But, you know, you've got those 2 things. And I think Rowett's going to be sitting there saying to JB, we want to be in contention with 5 games to go to make the playoffs. That's our goal and our target, because we're safe. We're probably going to finish in the top half, but we've still got that ambition to try and make the next step. Now, whether we can do that or not, I don't know. But I think, you know, it is. I find it difficult to sit here and be more positive, because at the back of my mind, the end of last season was really poor. I don't know if people remember how poor those performances were, but I mean, we looked like bereft of a plan. We looked like we didn't know who we were passing it to. Yes, we had injuries. Yes, Hutch weren't back, but you know, is that going to affect him this season? I don't know. So I think we've got a great starting 11 that could easily challenge for the playoffs, but I worry about injuries. And if you look at the injury profile of our team, that's a legitimate concern.
Do you know what? Touching on that, there's a few things I want to cover there, what you just said. Firstly, it's difficult to predict. Obviously, there's lots of things and factors that have to go into us having a fantastic season. The injuries thing, Alafe's now injured. Okay, it's not long term, but our players get injured a lot. And someone else said, fuck me, he scored 15 goals last season at Sutton. He's been back 3 weeks and got injured. I don't know what's going on. Our physio needs to be sacked. What you just said there as well about, this is the only, the apprehensions I have about Rowett. I'll put masterclass, because people go, it was a G Rowett masterclass, but they accused Neil Harris of having no tactical nous. Did you ever see a Neil Harris team get shipped 4-1, 6-1? Never.
Well, rarely. I think it was Rotherham, wasn't it? First game of the season. Yeah, but
very rarely. But Rowett, for an alleged tactical genius, we ship a lot of goals. But I like what he's done in pre-season. I really do. I love the way he's got his business done early. He had a clear plan in his mind about who we're going to get in. A few predictions. I haven't predicted yet. I'm stalling. We'll be top in October. Rowett will be offered the job at struggling Fulham. He'll walk and we'll finish 6th. That's a little bit Mick McCarthy-esque, wasn't it? Until you said 6th. We got relegated that year. Teddy Davis, top 8. We'll just miss out on the playoffs.
Yeah, fair, Teddy. I think that's what I was aiming for.
Yeah,
Teddy. I think I'm
backing this for a top 10. I think we're going to finish about 8th. Okay. Again, which will be a good season again, in my opinion. So talking about that top 8, it just flashed into my mind because I was looking at this as well from Kerry. Gary against Harris to come back, and we all know Harris' history playoffs. Mate, that will be. Yeah, my old man said to me yesterday, "What's happened to Neil Harris? Is he up to anything?" I said, "Do you know what? I was thinking the same thing. When we finished 8th in our first season back under Neil Harris, we had a fucking proper go that year, and we went for it. And I think that's all ultimately we want to see, isn't it? Exactly that.
Yeah.
Don't care how we get on. Every team that comes to the Den, we just had no fucking fear.
That's
we
right.
just went for the jugular, and we didn't win every game, but we fucking had a go.
Yeah.
Bring back Neil Harris. There you go. That was 1 hour and 39 minutes. Just bring back Neil Harris.
4-4-2.
And I think this is pretty much the benchmark is what all we ever want as Millwall fans. 10th with a good cup run. That's all we really want, isn't it?
I think also Steve Lee's just hit the nail on the head there. I think it was Steve Lee's. He said, I don't really care where we finish. I just want to see attacking football. That's exactly the same for me. I just want to go on a Saturday or a Tuesday night or whatever, and I want to watch my team play proper football, excite me. I want to enjoy my Saturday. I've been at work all week. You know, the missus has been shouting at me. You know, the kids have been on me back, and I'll just get the football on Saturday, and you want to enjoy it. Right? Do you really enjoy your day on a Saturday, even if we win 1-0 and we've had our backs to the wall for 89 minutes?
I see. You know him, H. I'm sure. Oh, his fucking name's gone out of my head. He's a fucking good guy. He's a fireman as well, Millwall fan. I'm out of practice, but basically, he puts all photos up on Facebook and puts another brilliant day out ruined by the football. You want to see a few tackles flying, and you want to see us have a go. Yeah. Would that lead to relegation, H? No,
Steve Minty, is that how he puts? Yeah.
Sorry, mate.
Yeah.
He said another brilliant day out, ruined by the football. Right?
Yeah, don't let 90 minutes of football ruin a great day. Yeah.
H, you agree though? Like, if are we all experts now with his fan TVs and podcasts? And is it too easy for us to say that's what Rowett should be doing? If like the manager and the players watching this thinking, what the fuck are you lot on about? If we did that, we'd get carted 7-0 every week. We'd be back in League One. You'd all be moaning.
It's opinion, isn't it? And it's based on the teams that we've watched in the past, which I've touched on a bit. You know, like in terms of like our historical finishes, the last 3 or 4 seasons are right up there with the best results this football club have ever had. And we have to put that into the historical context. When I was growing up, we were losing at home to Colchester and the Auto Windscreens Cup. And there were 3,500 people in the stadium, right? You know, we had Bobby Bowery in our team. We had Ricky Newman in our team. You know, we've come a long, long way from that. We went into administration. You know, we had all of this carnage going on. So, you know, I think
our hand is strong at the minute. You're saying, isn't it?
It is. It's a nice problem. We're in a, and also I do think I would say, you know, I have said a lot of stuff about Gary Rowett this evening. It's been quite negative. What I would say is he's a manager with quite a high caliber of club behind him in the past. I mean, he hasn't really worked out where he's, you know, at many of them, but you know, I couldn't really believe he came to us, to be honest. And we got someone like him, because my big argument about getting rid of Neil Harris was always like, well, okay, well, who are we going to get in? Who are we going to get in?
I'm not sure I agree with that. His credentials. I think he's a little bit of a Pulisy stopgap sort of. I don't think he's longevity anywhere.
I think for 5 years. What has he achieved? We said this. I think you had a video and you actually had that as your title, Dan, at one point. What actually has he achieved? I mean, you know, I could go and be the manager at Derby or Stoke, and then get sacked after 5 games, and I can go around telling everyone that I was the manager of Derby and Stoke. You know, he never achieved anything at these clubs. Don't get me again, like we say, you know, I'm a landscaper from Sevenoaks. I don't really know what I'm talking about, but you know, the fact is there's far better managers out there. And the question was always, who are we going to get? It doesn't matter sometimes. It doesn't matter sometimes. Do you think a motivator is more suited to Mill than a tactician? Yeah, definitely, 100%. But you can't employ Alex Pearce to be the cheerleader. You know, I can imagine he's just in that dressing room with his pom-poms, and he's not going to play, is he?
No, he's not going to play. So people talk about Alistair Edwards now. I think it's starting to wrap it. But, boys, I've really enjoyed this. It's been an hour and 3 minutes. I'll let you both crack on because I keep it longer.
Cracking, mate.
Well, I'm happy to keep it like this every Thursday if you two are trying to get you to sign up in front of everyone. No, it was good, boys. Enjoyable. I think the tickets for Gillingham come out tomorrow to season ticket holders. People asking me if the first team are playing tomorrow at Calmont Road. No, they're not. They're supposed to be playing away to Bournemouth on Saturday behind closed doors, but that got postponed. So, as it stands, our next 2 friendlies are Tuesday, Gillingham away. I haven't got a season ticket yet, so I'm not going to get a ticket for that, I don't think.
Ipswich.
Unless a player wants to help me out. And Ipswich away next Saturday. So maybe we'll do another podcast, us 3, once those 2 games have been played. But I really enjoyed it, boys. Thanks so much. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. This will be going out. If you jumped on the show late or early and left, this will go out on our podcast as well. Acast, Spotify, iTunes. It's been a while. I want to try and bring back the Lions Lounge lockdowns as well for the start of the season. But Kenny, H, thank you, boys. You stay on the line.
Cheers,
Thank you.
Thanks everyone for watching. Please subscribe to Lions TV, boys. You want to give it a little?
Come on, you Lions.
I can't say come on, you Lions. That's what you say. Don't forget to also listen to the No One Likes Us Talking podcast. Comes out 8 p.m. on Fridays.
That's enough out of you. See you later.
No.